The chamber lights dimmed across the massive hall on Centauri Prime. Council Speaker Vexter stood at the central podium, his scaled hands gripping the edges as he surveyed the assembled representatives. 73 species had sent their ambassadors to this emergency session. One species was notably absent. Ambassador Kyle Morrison sat in his quarters, 3 levels below the main chamber. He had received no summons for today's meeting. That fact alone told him something was wrong. In his 2 years serving as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, he had never been excluded from an emergency session. He stared at his communication tablet, refreshing the message feed every few seconds. Nothing came through. Above him, Vexter's voice echoed through the chamber. We gathered today to address a matter of galactic security. The human presence in Council space has become a threat we can no longer ignore. Several ambassadors shifted in their seats. The Moran representative, Councilor Merisith, raised one of her 4 arms. This is a serious accusation, Speaker. What evidence supports such claims? Vexter activated the central display. Images of human ships appeared, followed by charts showing expansion rates and military production numbers. In 30 Earth years, humanity has colonized 47 systems. They have built a fleet of 200 warships. Their military spending exceeds that of any 3 Council species combined. They come from a death world, another ambassador added. Their evolution made them aggressive and competitive. They cannot help their nature. Meriseth spoke again, her voice calm but firm. Many species in this council come from challenging worlds. That alone is not grounds for banishment. It is not just their origin, Vexter countered. Human cultural exports are corrupting younger species. Their entertainment promotes individual glory over collective harmony. Their philosophies question authority and tradition. They are a destabilizing force. The debate continued for an hour. Arguments flew back and forth across the chamber. Finally, Vexter called for a vote. All in favor of Resolution 7742, the immediate banishment of humanity from Council space, indicate now. Lights began appearing on the voting board. Green for approval, red for rejection. The green lights multiplied quickly. When the count finished, 59 species had voted in favor. Only 14 voted against. The resolution passes, Vexter announced. Humanity will be given 30 solar cycles to withdraw all presence from Council space. Ambassador Morrison will be informed tomorrow morning through official channels. Far from Centauri Prime, in the darkness beyond the outer rim, Lieutenant Ryan Carter sat at his monitoring station aboard listening post Artemis. The station was one of 12 that Earth maintained in deep space, officially listed as scientific research outposts. Their real purpose was signals intelligence. Ryan's screen suddenly filled with data. An encrypted transmission burst from Centauri Prime, heading toward multiple Council military installations. The encryption was heavy, military grade. That meant something important had just happened. He ran the signal through the decryption algorithms that Earth's intelligence services had been developing for years. The Council believed their communications were secure. They were wrong. Humanity had been reading Council traffic for the past 18 months. The decryption took 6 minutes. When the text appeared on Ryan's screen, he felt his blood run cold. He read it 3 times to be certain he understood correctly. "Oh no," he whispered. "They actually did it." Ryan's fingers flew across his console. He opened the priority channel directly to Earth Defense Command. The transmission would take 11 minutes to reach home. Every second mattered now. Admiral Lisa Hayes was reviewing fleet deployment reports when the priority alert chimed on her desk. She touched the screen, expecting routine intelligence updates. What she saw made her stand up immediately. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she said to her aide. "All of them. Right now. And find President Graham." Tell him it's a critical situation. 20 minutes later, Lisa stood in the secure briefing room facing the highest ranking military officers on Earth. The holographic display showed Ryan's decoded message. The council voted to banish us, Lisa said without preamble. 59 species in favor. They're giving us 30 days to leave all council space. General Marcus Webb, head of Earth's strategic forces, leaned forward. When was this vote? 4 hours ago. But here's the critical part. Ambassador Morrison doesn't know yet. They deliberately excluded him from the session. According to the decoded message, they plan to deliver the official declaration tomorrow morning. Why the delay? Another officer asked. Lisa activated another section of the display. Because it gives them time to move their fleets into position. Look at these movement orders. 3 major council battle groups are being redirected toward human space. They're calling it a training exercise, but the timing is too convenient. Webb's expression darkened. They're going to surround our forces before telling us we're banished. Then they'll demand we disarm and withdraw under threat. That's my assessment, Lisa agreed. If we wait for the official declaration, we'll be boxed in. They'll have tactical advantage. What are you proposing? Webb asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. Lisa met his gaze steadily. We have maybe 48 hours before the formal declaration arrives. Maybe 60 if we're lucky. I propose we don't wait to be told twice. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what she meant. Moving first would mean striking without official provocation. It would mean gambling Earth's future on intelligence that might be incomplete. This is a decision for the president, Webb finally said. I know, Lisa replied. But I need fleet authorization ready the moment he gives the word. We'll need to move fast once we start. President Connor Graham arrived at the Pentagon 90 minutes later. He listened to Lisa's briefing without interruption, his face growing more troubled with each detail. You're asking me to authorize a preemptive strike, he said when she finished. I'm asking you to authorize a defensive operation. Before the enemy completes their encirclement, Lisa corrected. Sir, if we wait, they'll disarm us without firing a shot. Then they'll occupy our colonies and dictate terms. Humanity will become a subject species. Connor stood and walked to the window. Outside, the capital city continued its evening routine. People walked streets, lived their lives, completely unaware that their entire civilization stood at a crossroads. If we do this, Connor said slowly, there's no going back. We'll be starting a war with the entire Galactic Council. With respect, sir, they already started it when they voted. We're just refusing to be victims. Connor turned back to face her. How confident are you in this intelligence? Lieutenant Carter has never been wrong. His decryption methods are solid. The message is real. The president closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them again, his expression had hardened with resolve. How long to mobilize? 12 hours for initial elements. 24 for full deployment. Connor nodded slowly. Authorization granted. But Admiral Hayes, I want one thing clear. Minimum casualties. We prove we're better than them by showing restraint, even when we strike first. Can you do that? Yes, sir, Lisa said. We have options that will neutralize their fleet without killing anyone. Then make it happen. And may God help us all. Lisa left the Pentagon and returned to her command center. Her staff was already assembling, alerted by her aide. She stood before them and spoke clearly. Operation First Thunder is approved. Begin fleet mobilization under exercise protocols. Coordinate with Special Weapons Division. We move in 36 hours. Across the Sol system, human warships received coded orders. Crews reported for what they believed were standard drills. Captains opened sealed orders and felt their hearts race as they read the truth. Humanity was going to war, and they would strike before the enemy even knew the fight had begun. Captain Derek Walsh stood on the bridge of the EDS Valiant, watching his crew work through what they still believed was a standard readiness drill. His sealed orders sat in the safe behind his command chair. He had read them 3 times, each time hoping the words would change. They never did. "Captain, we're receiving priority traffic from Fleet Command," his communications officer reported. Derek acknowledged and moved to his ready room. Once inside with the door sealed, he activated the secure channel. Admiral Lisa Hayes appeared on the screen. "Captain Walsh, status report. The Valiant is at 90% combat readiness, Admiral. All systems check green. The crew believes this is a standard exercise." "Good. Keep it that way for now." Lisa paused, choosing her words carefully. "Derek, I need to know. Can you do this? Can you fire first without an official declaration of war?" Derek considered the question. He had spent 20 years in Earth's Defense Force. He had trained for combat, but never expected to see it. Now the Admiral was asking him to start a war, not respond to one. "Admiral, are we certain about the intelligence?" "As certain as we can be. The Council voted to banish us. They're moving fleets into position to force our compliance. If we wait for them to complete their deployment, we lose." Derek nodded slowly. "Then yes, I can do it. What's the target?" "You'll receive full tactical orders in 6 hours. For now, continue standard operations." Hayes out. The screen went dark. Derek sat alone in his ready room, thinking about the crew outside. They were good people. They had families, hopes, dreams. In a day, he would be asking them to commit an act that would define human history for generations. At Earth Defense Command, Major Ashley Bennett briefed her Special Operations team. The room held 35 of the most elite soldiers humanity had produced. They sat quietly as Ashley displayed the mission parameters. "We're going to board Council warships," she said bluntly. "No authorization to kill unless absolutely necessary for self-defense. Our objective is capture and secure, not destroy." One of her team leaders, Sergeant Jake Palmer, raised his hand. "Ma'am, boarding hostile warships without lethal authorization? That's going to be challenging." "That's why you're the best," Ashley replied. "The Council sees us as aggressive barbarians. We're going to prove them wrong by taking their flagships without spilling blood." Questions? What about resistance? Council security forces won't surrender easily. Ashley activated another display. "We'll have technological advantage. The quantum disruption field will shut down their weapon systems before we breach. They'll be armed with disabled equipment facing us with fully functional gear. The shock factor alone should minimize resistance." "And if it doesn't?" another soldier asked. "Then we use non-lethal suppression. Stun weapons, riot control measures, psychological warfare. Make them think we're unstoppable without actually hurting them." The team absorbed this information. They had trained for shipboarding operations, but always with the assumption of full combat authorization. This was different. This required precision and restraint under pressure. "When do we deploy?" Jake asked. 32 hours. "Get your teams ready." 3 levels below the command center, Dr. Nicole Stevens worked in the Special Weapons Development Laboratory. The project she had led for 4 years was finally ready for field deployment. She called it Project Nightfall, though officially it existed only as a classified line item in the defense budget. The quantum disruption technology was elegant in its simplicity. It generated a field that interfered with the exotic matter cores that powered Council warships. The effect was temporary but devastating. Every system on a ship would fail simultaneously. Life support, weapons, propulsion, communications. Everything would go dark for approximately 6 hours. Before natural quantum fluctuation restored normal function, McColl's team had tested it twice on captured Council scout ships obtained through covert operations. Both tests succeeded perfectly. Now they were about to deploy it against active military targets. The responsibility weighed heavily on her. Admiral Hayes entered the laboratory. Dr. Stevens, status update. All 47 disruption generators are ready for deployment, Admiral. We can cover every target on the list simultaneously. And the safety margins? No chance of permanent damage or life support failure. None. The disruption affects only the exotic matter cores. Emergency life support runs on conventional fusion cells that the field doesn't touch. The crews will be uncomfortable in the dark, but they'll be safe. Lisa nodded. Good, because if anyone dies from our weapons, we lose the moral high ground. This whole operation depends on proving we're better than they think we are. Nicole understood. The technology could have been weaponized to create permanent system failure. Earth could have built a fleet killer that left ships as dead hulks floating in space. Instead, they chose temporary disruption. They chose restraint. The generators are loaded on the assault carriers, Nicole reported. Each strike group will deploy them on approach. Excellent work, Doctor. History may not remember your name, but you may have just saved humanity. As Lisa left the laboratory, she reviewed the deployment schedule on her tablet. 48 warships were now moving toward their staging areas. Each carried a quantum disruption generator and a contingent of Marines for boarding operations. The coordination required was immense. The fleet movements were disguised as routine exercises. Earth ran military drills regularly, so Council observers would see nothing unusual. But each ship was moving to a precise location that would allow simultaneous strikes on 7 major Council fleet concentrations. The timing had to be perfect. Strike too early, and some Council ships would escape. Strike too late, and they would complete their encirclement of human space. The window for operation was narrow. Lieutenant Ryan Carter continued monitoring Council communications from listening post Artemis. The traffic had increased significantly. Council military channels were busy with deployment orders, supply coordination, maintenance schedules. Everything suggested a major operation was being prepared. He decoded another burst transmission and felt sick. The message contained preliminary orders for Council forces to prepare for population management operations in human colonies. The phrase was bureaucratic, but the implication was clear. The Council wasn't just planning to disarm humanity. They were planning to occupy human worlds and control the population directly. Ryan forwarded this immediately to Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, his screen lit up with an incoming call. Admiral Hayes appeared. Lieutenant, confirm this translation. Population management operations? Yes, Admiral. The phrase appears in 3 separate messages to different fleet commanders. It's accompanied by requests for additional security personnel and detention facility specifications. Lisa's expression hardened. They're planning to turn our colonies into prison camps. That's my assessment, Admiral. Good work, Lieutenant. Keep monitoring. If you see anything that suggests they've detected our fleet movements, alert me immediately. Understood, Admiral. The call ended. Ryan sat back in his chair, looking at the decoded messages on his screen. He was 24 years old, assigned to what most people considered a boring monitoring post. Now his intelligence work was literally shaping the course of human history. Back at the Pentagon, President Connor Graham met with his civilian advisors. They debated the ethics and legality of preemptive military action. Some argued it violated principles Earth had always claimed to uphold. Others insisted that self-defense justified extraordinary measures. The intelligence is solid, Connor said, cutting through the debate. The Council voted to banish us. They're moving fleets to enforce it. And now we know they're planning occupation of our colonies. At what point does it become acceptable to defend ourselves? After they fire first, one advisor insisted. And how many people die while we wait for that first shot? Connor countered. How many colonies get occupied before we decide it's okay to fight back? No, we strike first, but we strike smart. We neutralize their military capability without killing anyone. We prove we're defending ourselves, not conquering them. The meeting continued for another hour, but the decision was already made. Earth was committed to Operation First Thunder. The only question now was whether it would succeed. Across human space, families went about their normal lives. Children went to school. Adults worked their jobs. They watched entertainment feeds and complained about traffic. They had no idea their entire civilization was hours away from the biggest gamble in human history. On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Derek Walsh finally received his tactical orders. He opened the file and studied the target. His battle group would strike the Council's third fleet near Centauri Prime. 23 Council warships against his force of 7 human vessels. The numbers looked bad on paper. But Derek had seen the specifications for Project Nightfall. He understood what would happen when his ships emerged from quantum jump and activated the disruption field. He called his senior staff to the briefing room. It was time to tell them the truth. Time to tell them they were going to start a war. Time to see if they would follow him into the greatest risk humanity had ever taken. The countdown had begun. In 30 hours, the galaxy would discover that humans do not wait to be told twice. Admiral Kyle Morrison stood at the window of his office in Geneva, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and red. His reflection showed a man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. 15 years of service to the Galactic Council had aged him more than he cared to admit. The door opened behind him. Ambassador Peter Hayes walked in, his face pale and drawn. He carried a small data device in his shaking hand. Kyle turned from the window and studied his old friend. Something was terribly wrong. Peter, what happened at the council chambers? Kyle asked. Peter sat down heavily in the chair across from Kyle's desk. He looked like a man who had seen the end of the world. For a long moment, he said nothing. He just stared at the data device in his hand. I smuggled this out, Peter finally said. His voice was barely a whisper. Dr. Laura Bennett needs to see it right away. It's encrypted with council security protocols. Kyle pressed the come button on his desk. Get Dr. Bennett to my office immediately. Within minutes, Dr. Laura Bennett arrived. She was Earth's chief xenobiologist and had worked with council technology for over a decade. Her expertise in alien systems was unmatched among humans. She took the data device from Peter and connected it to her portable terminal. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface. Lines of alien text scrolled past. Kyle watched her face change from concentration to confusion, then to horror. She looked up at Peter with wide eyes. This can't be real, she whispered. It's real, Peter said. His voice was hard now, filled with anger. I verified it 3 times before I left the station. Kyle moved around his desk. Someone tell me what's going on. Laura turned her terminal so Kyle could see. The data showed communication logs between council members. Kyle began reading. With each line, his blood ran colder. The council had been lying to Earth since first contact. Every piece of technology they had shared was deliberately outdated. Every defensive system they recommended was designed to keep humanity weak. The Council had carefully managed Earth's development to ensure humans remained dependent and controllable. But that wasn't the worst part. Kyle's hands clenched into fists as he read. About New Haven, 5 years ago, the colony world had been attacked by the Krill, a hostile alien species. 40,000 humans had died in the assault, including thousands of children. Earth had mourned. The council had offered condolences and promised protection. It had all been a lie. The council had orchestrated the attack. They had paid the Krill to strike New Haven. The attack was a test to see how humanity would respond. More than that, it was meant to keep Earth focused on defense rather than exploration and advancement. Kyle found the communication logs from during the attack. Council members had placed bets on human casualties. They discussed the death toll like it was a sporting event. One of them had complained that only 40,000 humans died, saying they had expected more. "They murdered our people," Kyle said. His voice was steady, but rage burned in every word. "They killed 40,000 humans as an experiment." Peter nodded. "It gets worse. I found records of 3 other species that discovered the Council's manipulation. The Vorath, the Kelnari, and the Thel. All 3 were quietly eliminated over the past 2 centuries. Their civilizations were destroyed, their planets left as warnings." Lavra pulled up another file. "The Council doesn't see us as partners. They see us as pets, as something to be controlled and managed. They're afraid of what we might become if we develop freely." Kyle walked back to the window. Outside, night had fallen. Lights sparkled across Geneva. Somewhere out there, families went about their lives. They had no idea that the galactic government they trusted had orchestrated the murder of their children. "Does the Council know we have this information?" Kyle asked. "No," Peter said. "I was careful. As far as they know, I'm just another naive human who believes their lies." Kyle made a decision. "We need to call an emergency session with the government. But first, I need to know something. Do we have the capacity to respond to this?" Peter and Lavra exchanged glances. Lavra spoke first. "There are projects you don't know about, Kyle. Classified projects that have been running parallel to our official programs." "Show me," Kyle said. Lara pulled up another set of files. These were marked with Earth's highest security classifications. Kyle's clearance granted him access, but he had never known these projects existed. "We've been reverse engineering Council technology since first contact," Lavra explained. "But we didn't just copy it. We improved it. Our scientists have developed systems the Council thinks are impossible." Kyle studied the data. Hidden shipyards on Luna. Weapons research facilities in the asteroid belt. A fleet of warships built in secret over the past decade. The ships use technology based on quantum mechanics that the Council had never mastered. "How many people know about this?" Kyle asked. "Less than 100 across all projects," Laura said. "We kept it compartmentalized. The Council has spies in our government. We couldn't risk them finding out." Kyle nodded slowly. His mind was already working through scenarios and possibilities. The Council thought Earth was weak. They thought humanity would remain forever dependent. They had no idea what humans were capable of when properly motivated. "I want a full briefing on our capabilities within 24 hours, Kyle said. "I want to know every asset we have, every weapon, every ship. I want to know what we can do and how fast we can do it." "You're planning to respond," Peter said. It wasn't a question. Kyle turned from the window. His face was hard as stone. "The Council killed 40,000 of our people. They bet on how many of us would die. They plan to do it again." He walked to his desk and brought up images of New Haven, the colony's burning cities, the ships fleeing into space, the refugee camps where survivors had wept for their dead children. "They think we're animals to be controlled," Kyle continued. "They think we'll accept their authority forever. They're wrong." Lara looked worried. "If we act against the Council, there's no going back. They'll see it as rebellion. They might move to eliminate us like they did the other species. Then we better make sure they don't get the chance," Kyle said. He looked at both of them. "I need you to understand something. Once we start this, we're committed. The council won't forgive. They won't negotiate. It's going to be us or them. Peter stood up. Good, because I'm tired of pretending to respect the people who murdered our children. Kyle activated his secure communication system. It was time to tell Earth's government the truth. It was time to show the council what humans were really capable of. And it was time to get justice for New Haven. As his advisors worked to arrange the emergency session, Kyle looked once more at the images from New Haven. 40,000 faces stared back at him from the memorial database. Children who would never grow up. Parents who had died protecting their families. All of them sacrificed for the council's cruel experiment. I promise you, Kyle whispered to the images. They will answer for what they did. Every single one of them. In orbit above Earth, Council surveillance satellites continued their watch. They detected nothing unusual. They had no idea that the balance of galactic power was about to shift forever. They had no idea that humanity was about to remind the galaxy of a simple truth. You can only push people so far before they push back. And when humans push back, worlds trembled. The transport ship descended toward Luna's surface in complete darkness. No lights marked its passage. No signals announced its arrival. Admiral Kyle Morrison sat in the passenger compartment, watching the gray landscape rush past through the window. This facility didn't exist on any official records. The Council spy satellites had never detected it. Commander Ryan Foster met Kyle at the airlock. He was a tall man in his 40s, with sharp eyes and the bearing of someone who carried heavy secrets. He saluted as Kyle stepped into the corridor. "Welcome to Site Omega, Admiral," Ryan said. "We've been expecting you." The facility stretched deep into Luna's crust. Kyle followed Ryan through passages carved from solid rock. They passed security checkpoints every 50 meters. Each one scanned their biometrics and verified their clearance. The level of security impressed Kyle. This place guarded secrets that could change everything. They reached a massive vault door. Ryan placed his hand on the scanner. "What you're about to see is known to fewer than 50 people in the entire solar system," he said. The door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Beyond lay a command center that rivaled anything Kyle had seen in official military installations. Holographic displays showed ship designs, weapon specifications, and tactical simulations. Dion Nicole Carter stood at the central console. She was a brilliant engineer who had supposedly retired from military service 5 years ago. Her retirement had been a cover. "Admiral Morrison," Nicole said with a slight smile, "welcome to the project that's going to save humanity." Kyle looked around the command center. "I need to understand what we have, what it can do, and how fast we can deploy it." Nicole gestured to the main display. A holographic ship appeared, rotating slowly. It was unlike any human or council vessel Kyle had ever seen. The design was sleek and angular, with no obvious weapons ports or engine nacelles. "This is the Valkyrie-class warship," Nicole explained. "We started development 12 years ago, right after first contact with the Council. Some of our scientists didn't trust the Council from the beginning. They were right to be suspicious." Ryan took over the presentation. "The Council gave us their old fusion drive technology and told us it was state-of-the-art. We smiled and thanked them. Then we started working on something better." The holographic ship's interior became visible. Kyle saw the drive system, a complex array of quantum field generators that seemed impossible. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "Quantum displacement drive," Nicole said. "It doesn't move the ship through space in the traditional sense. It displaces the ship's quantum state, allowing instant repositioning anywhere within a solar system. The Council thinks this kind of technology is theoretically impossible. We proved them wrong." Kyle stared at the display. The implications were staggering. "How fast can it displace?" "Every 3 seconds," Ryan said. A Valkyrie can jump from Earth to Mars orbit, then to Jupiter, then back to Earth, all in under 10 seconds. You can't target what you can't predict. These ships make conventional space combat obsolete. Nicole brought up another display. This one showed weapon systems. Kyle recognized some Council energy weapons, but heavily modified. Then he saw something that made his breath catch. "Is that a controlled singularity projector?" he asked. "We call them gravity lenses," Nicole said. "They create microscopic black holes that tear through shields and hulls. The singularities last only nanoseconds, but that's enough. We tested one against a captured Council frigate. The ship ceased to exist in under a second." Kyle walked closer to the displays. "How many of these Valkyrie ships do we have?" 200, Ryan said. "Fully crewed and ready for deployment. We built them in sections across a dozen hidden facilities, then assembled them in the asteroid belt. The Council has no idea they exist." 200 ships against the Council's thousands, Kyle said quietly. Nicole shook her head. "You're thinking in terms of conventional warfare, Admiral. Each Valkyrie is worth an entire Council fleet. Their ships are designed for intimidation and patrol. They've never fought a real war. We designed these ships for one purpose: to kill Council vessels as efficiently as possible." Ryan activated another display. "We also developed tactical AI systems. They can analyze Council fleet movements and predict their responses in real time. The Council uses mostly pre-programmed tactics. They haven't faced a peer opponent in over 1,000 years. They've forgotten how to really fight." Kyle absorbed the information. It was almost too much to process. Earth had an entire secret fleet capable of challenging the Council's military supremacy. "What about their numbers advantage?" he asked. "Numbers mean nothing if they can't hit us," Nicole said. "Our simulations showed that 6 Valkyrie ships could disable a Council fleet of 50 vessels in under 15 minutes. We have 200 ships. We could take on their entire military simultaneously and win." A priority alert sounded across the command center. Ryan moved to a console and read the incoming data. His face darkened. "Admiral, we're receiving intelligence from our assets near Council space. A Council fleet is heading toward our solar system." Kyle felt his pulse quicken. "How many ships?" 150 vessels, Ryan said. "It's one of their larger battle groups. They're scheduled to arrive at Earth in 72 hours. Nicole pulled up the fleet composition. "This isn't a diplomatic visit. These are their heavy assault ships. They're coming to attack us." Kyle's mind raced. The Council must have learned something. Perhaps they detected Earth's growing independence. Or maybe this was simply the next phase of their plan to keep humanity subjugated. The reason didn't matter. What mattered was that Earth faced an immediate threat. "What's their target?" Kyle asked. Ryan highlighted Earth's orbital shipyards. "Our official construction facilities. They're going to destroy our shipbuilding capacity as a warning. Show us that we exist only because they allow it." Kyle looked at the holographic Valkyrie ship, still rotating on the main display. Then he looked at Ryan and Nicole. These people had spent over a decade preparing for this moment. They had built weapons the Council thought impossible. They had created a fleet in secret. All for this moment. "I want the Valkyrie fleet on full alert," Kyle said. His voice was calm, but filled with certainty. "Prepare for immediate deployment." Nicole hesitated. "Admiral, once we reveal these ships, there's no going back. The Council will know we've been hiding our true capabilities. They'll know we've surpassed their technology. It will mean war." "They declared war when they orchestrated the New Haven massacre," Kyle said flatly. "They declared war when they murdered 40,000 of our people for an experiment. We're just going to make sure they understand what war with humanity actually means." Ryan smiled grimly. The crews have been waiting for this order for years. They'll be ready. I want tactical plans for engaging the Council fleet, Kyle continued. I want them to know they made a terrible mistake. But I don't want them destroyed. Nicole looked surprised. Sir, I want them disabled and captured, Kyle explained. I want their crews alive to carry a message back to the Council. I want every Council species to understand exactly what happened here. Earth is done being their pet. Earth is done following their rules. And if they ever threaten us again, we won't show mercy. Ryan began issuing orders to the facility staff. Ships deep in the asteroid belt received activation codes. Crews that had trained in secret for years moved to battle stations. The Valkyrie fleet came to life. On the main display, Kyle watched as 200 ships appeared in the tracking system. They were spread across the solar system in hidden locations. No Council satellite had ever detected them. The Council believed Earth had perhaps a dozen warships, all using inferior technology. They were about to learn the truth. There's one more thing, Kyle said. I want 20 ships sent to Council space. I want them to reach the homeworlds of the 5 major Council species. Nicole's eyes widened. You want to put ships in orbit of their home planets? I want them to understand that we can reach them, Kyle said. I want them to know that Earth has the capability to strike anywhere in the galaxy before they can respond. They've ruled through fear for centuries. Let them taste fear themselves. Ryan nodded slowly. It will take precise timing. We'll need to coordinate the fleet engagement here with the arrival of ships at their worlds. Then coordinate it, Kyle ordered. I want this to happen simultaneously. When the Council wakes up tomorrow, I want them to realize their entire strategy was built on false assumptions. The command center buzzed with activity as staff began detailed planning. Kyle stood before the holographic displays, watching his secret fleet prepare for battle. Somewhere out in space, a Council fleet approached Earth, expecting an easy intimidation mission. They thought they were coming to discipline a troublesome junior species. Instead, they were walking into a trap. Kyle thought about New Haven again, about the children who had died, about the Council members who had bet on human casualties, about centuries of manipulation and control. Soon, he whispered. Soon they'll understand what it means to threaten Earth. On the display, the Valkyrie ships began to move into position. Their quantum drives charged. Their weapons armed. 200 ships prepared to change galactic history forever. The Council thought they controlled humanity. They were about to learn that you cannot control what you do not. Fleet Admiral Zexon stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the human star system grow larger on the view screen. His scales gleamed under the bridge lights as he adjusted his ceremonial armor. This mission was routine, he told himself. Humans would see the Council's might and remember their place. His fleet of 150 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. They formed into an impressive battle formation, exactly as the tactical manual prescribed. Zexon had commanded fleets for 40 years. He had conducted dozens of these intimidation missions against upstart species. None had ever resisted. Begin scanning for human vessels. Zexon ordered his sensor officer. The officer studied his console. Sir, I'm detecting minimal military presence. A dozen patrol craft in Mars orbit. Some defensive platforms around Earth. Nothing that poses a threat to our fleet. Zexon nodded with satisfaction. The humans understood their position. They would not be foolish enough to resist. Set course for Earth. We will demonstrate our power by destroying their orbital construction facilities. Keep weapons armed, but do not fire unless provoked. The Council fleet advanced deeper into the system. Zexon composed his speech in his mind. He would tell the humans that this attack was necessary to maintain galactic order. He would explain that they had grown too ambitious too quickly. They would accept this punishment and remember to be grateful for the Council's guidance. On Earth, Admiral Kyle Morrison watched the Council fleet approach. He stood in the command center on Luna, surrounded by holographic displays showing every ship in both fleets. Commander Ryan Foster stood beside him, monitoring the Valkyrie fleet's status. "The Council fleet is maintaining standard formation," Ryan reported. "They're not even running active combat scans. They think this is going to be easy." Kyle's expression was hard. "Captain Brandon Lee, are your ships in position?" On the main display, Captain Brandon Lee appeared. He commanded the lead Valkyrie warship, named Retribution. Brandon was young for his rank, only 32, but he had trained for this moment his entire adult life. "All Valkyrie units report ready, Admiral. Quantum drives at full charge. Weapons hot. We're maintaining stealth mode. The Council fleet shows no awareness of our presence. Remember the rules of engagement," Kyle said. "Disable their ships. Capture their crews alive. I want them to carry our message back to the Council." "Understood, sir," Brandon replied. "We'll make sure they never forget this day." Kyle took a deep breath. This was the moment. Everything Earth had built in secret for the past decade came down to the next few minutes. "All ships," he said clearly, "execute Operation Reckoning." In space around the Council fleet, reality itself seemed to ripple. 200 Valkyrie warships dropped their quantum stealth and appeared in the midst of the Council formation. The appearance was instantaneous. One moment the Council fleet was alone. The next, they were surrounded. On Zexon's command deck, alarms shrieked. His sensor officer turned pale. "Sir, multiple contacts. 200 ships appearing inside our formation. Unknown drive signatures. Unknown weapon systems." Zexon stared at his displays in disbelief. "That's impossible. Our sensors would have detected them." "They're human ships, sir," the officer said, his voice shaking. "But the technology is far beyond anything in our database." Before Zexon could respond, the human vessels opened fire. Captain Brandon Lee watched his tactical display with cold satisfaction. The Council ships were exactly where the AI predicted they would be. Their shields were configured for long-range engagement. Their weapons were pointed toward Earth, not at threats within their own formation. "All units, fire at will," Brandon commanded. "Target engines and weapon systems. Leave command sections intact." The Valkyrie ships unleashed their gravity lances. Controlled singularities tore through Council shields like they didn't exist. The black holes ripped engines from hulls and sheared weapons arrays from their mountings. Council ships spun out of control, their power systems failing as the singularities disrupted their reactors. Zexon's flagship rocked under multiple impacts. Sparks exploded from consoles. Half his bridge crew was thrown from their stations. "Return fire," he shouted. "All ships, engage the enemy." His weapons officer tried to lock onto the human ships. But the moment his targeting system acquired a lock, the target vanished. The human vessels used their quantum drives to jump to new positions every few seconds. His weapons fired at empty space while the humans appeared somewhere else entirely. "They're displacing faster than our systems can track," his weapons officer reported desperately. "We can't maintain target locks." Another barrage of gravity lances struck the flagship. The entire starboard weapon grid went offline. Emergency systems struggled to contain reactor breaches. Zexon realized with growing horror that his fleet was being systematically torn apart. The battle lasted 8 minutes. When it ended, 150 Council warships drifted helplessly in space. Their engines were destroyed. Their weapons were offline. Their shields had collapsed. But their command sections remained intact, their crews alive and trapped in their dying ships. Brandon Lee surveyed the battlefield with grim satisfaction. Not a single Valkyrie had been damaged. The Council fleet had never even hit one of his ships. Admiral Morrison, Operation Reckoning complete. All Council vessels disabled. Estimated crew survival rate, 97%. Tile nodded. Well done, Captain. Now send them the message. Brandon composed himself and activated a broad-spectrum transmission that every Council ship would receive. His face appeared on their view screens, calm and cold. "I am Captain Brandon Lee of the Earth Defense Fleet," he said. "Your attack on our system has failed. Your ships are disabled. Your crews are at our mercy. We could destroy you all right now, but we won't. We want you to live. We want you to go back to the Council and tell them exactly what happened here." On his ruined bridge, Zexon listened to the human captain's words with growing dread. "Tell the Council that Earth knows the truth," Brandon continued. "We know about New Haven. We know you orchestrated the attack that killed 40,000 of our people. We know about your manipulation. We know about the species you've suppressed and destroyed. We know everything." Brandon paused, letting his words sink in. "Tell them that humanity is done being controlled. Tell them we have technology they cannot match. Tell them we can reach any point in this galaxy before they can respond. And tell them this: if they ever threaten Earth again, we will not show mercy." At that moment, alerts sounded across Council space. On Thera Prime, homeworld of the Council's founding species, orbital defense platforms detected an impossible signature. A human warship materialized in high orbit. It made no aggressive moves. It simply appeared, proving it could reach them. On Kelner, the industrial heart of the Council, 4 human ships appeared simultaneously around their largest moon. Their weapons remained cold, but their presence sent a clear message. On Vorish, the military headquarters world, 6 human vessels dropped out of quantum displacement directly above the planetary defense grid. The grid's weapons tried to lock on. The human ships vanished and reappeared on the other side of the planet. 3 more Council homeworlds received similar visits. Human ships appeared, demonstrated their superiority, and vanished again before the Council could mount any response. On Zenith Prime, the Council's main station, chaos erupted. Speaker Thon received reports from all 5 homeworlds within minutes of each other. The impossible had happened. A supposedly primitive species had bypassed all Council defenses and demonstrated the ability to strike anywhere they chose. Ambassador Peter Hayes stood in the Council chambers, watching the leadership panic. He had known this moment was coming. He had prepared for it. Now he watched as the Council's carefully constructed superiority crumbled. Speaker Thorn turned his alien eyes to Peter. "What have you done?" he demanded. Peter smiled coldly. "We stopped being your pets. We stopped accepting your lies. We became what you always feared we might become. This is an act of war." One of the Council members shouted. "No," Peter said calmly. "New Haven was an act of war. You killed our children. You orchestrated a massacre and bet on our casualties. That was war. This is just us showing you what real power looks like." Another Council member, a being from the Kellner species, stood up. "We could destroy your world. We have thousands of ships." "Go ahead and try," Peter replied. "You saw what happened to your fleet at Earth. You saw how your homeworlds are vulnerable to our ships. You built your empire on fear and suppression. Now you're the ones who should be afraid." Speaker Thorn collapsed into his seat. His species had led the Council for 2,000 years. They had controlled dozens of younger civilizations. They had never imagined being on the receiving end of such power. "What do you want?" Thorn asked quietly. Peter's expression hardened. "Justice, accountability, and a complete restructuring of galactic civilization. But that conversation can wait. First, You need to rescue your fleet from Earth's system. They're disabled but alive. We're giving them back to you as a gesture. We could have killed them all. Remember that." In Earth's command center, Kyle watched the tactical displays show Council rescue ships approaching the disabled fleet. Ryan stood beside him, looking satisfied. "All Valkyrie units report,"